And we're live. Beers and Buffalo Podcast, Season 7, Episode 2. I'm pretty sure we're live. You got the notification. You'll get the little delay, I think, on that. But I definitely think I did it right this time. Welcome back, folks. It's been a while, man. It's been a while since the last podcast. I know. A little impromptu here. We got a lot on the docket to talk about. We're going to, schedule release, some other Bills news. We got NBA, NHL news. But before we get into that, we're going to talk some beer. And Jeff, it was your turn this week.
It was.
What did you bring us to try?
So I was roaming around Consumers today, and after last episode, we did a lot of IPAs. So I'm looking at beers. I'm like, oh, it's an IPA. Oh, it's an IPA. I'm like, so now it's in my head that I don't want to get an IPA because we always do IPAs. So I'm like, all right, I saw this one. It was under the local section, Wayland Brewing Company. Orchard Park, New York. Never heard of it. It's a German Pilsner, 5.1%. Doesn't really have anything on here of what it's supposed to taste like or anything. And then I get here, and last episode was also a Pilsner, but that was a West Coast. This is German. This is the other side of the country. So we'll go with it. The can's kind of fun-ish, colorful.
Yeah, I got, let me see. I'll go back here to the screen share. Let me hop over to the page here. I got a picture of it. Ready to go.
The same can.
Yep.
You got a good pour this time. Look at you.
I know. I figured out how to pour.
Took you 3 years.
It's light. It's definitely light.
It looks like a light beer. Cheers. I'm not really getting any. Just smelling it, I don't get any flavors off of it. This is
pretty. That's crushable.
That's very light.
That's what we call crushable, folks.
Yeah, it's good. It's not phenomenal, but I'd still take a Miller Lite over this.
Let's see what we got here. Close this. I don't know if they had any.
Just a German Pilsner. This probably would taste better warm, honestly, if it's German, because I think the Germans all drink their beer warm.
39 ratings. I don't even see where the reviews are on this thing. I was going to try to pull up something to see what people's tasting notes were on it, but yeah, super light, man. I like it. Really refreshing. It's a good switch up, like you said, from IPAs. I like this Pilsner much better than the last Pilsner we tried last week. And I got the spreadsheet up right now. The Caddy Wampus from the Griffin, RIP, because we won't be trying that probably ever again. And that was a 6%er, and this honestly tastes like the same percentage, and that's almost a full percentage point heavier than this. Oh, man. I got to go back in for a second sip here.
Yeah, I'm not tasting anything that's going to be like, wow, I got to get this again. It's one of those beers. It's like, all right, I tried it. A little expensive. It was like $15 for a 4-pack. Again,
it's just light and crisp, man.
Yeah, it's very crisp. That's a good way to put it. It's very crisp.
What do you think?
I got to give this better than the Caddy Wampus.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a 6.8 on this one.
Okay.
Just because it's already better, but it's not one of those beers that I'm going to be going after time and time again.
Let's see what we gave some other light beers. I don't know if we had any Pilsners. We didn't really drink a lot of Pilsners at all. Here's one. So Light the Lamp was a 7.74. And I felt like that had a little bit more flavor than this.
Yeah.
And if I gave it a 7, I'm going to give this a 6.9, man. I'm going to go right underneath that one. Just because you're right, man. There's nothing that sticks out. You can pinpoint this tastes like this. There's no strong notes on it. It's just a good, refreshing, crisp beer, man. And it's not offensive. So it gets a full point higher than last week's beer, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
Basically almost a 7 right now. I like it. I like it a lot.
Like I said, I could drink a lot of these, but not for the price, honestly.
I hear you.
And that's not a knock. It's just everybody that makes their own beers, they're going to be a little bit more expensive than a name brand Miller Lite or Busch Light or, Bud Light.
The funny thing is this is made by Wayland Brewing Company, and the name of the beer is the Waylander. They were real creative with that one.
So when I went there, they had a couple other different ones. They're all called the Waylander.
Really?
But they just changed the name. The Waylander IPA, Waylander Hazy IPA.
So maybe it's just a line. Orchard Park.
Yeah, Orchard Park. Native to Buffalo, native to the Bills.
I like it. Supporting local businesses.
That's the only reason I bought it too, because there's a local section. So I said, hey.
They have a local section?
It says local on the door.
I've never know. Oh, it's in the paint?
Or whatever, it's on the paint on Consumers. Yeah, it says local.
I don't even think I read those things.
So I go to those first, and if I don't find something, then I'll scroll on down.
That's where you get your flying bison rusty chains from, your resurgences. Yeah, your big ditch.
Yep.
But this is a good one. I'm definitely like, here's the thing. Would I buy this again? I don't know. It depends. How much was the 4-pack of this? We could also start talking prices on these.
It was about $15. So
I should honestly start tracking prices on these too. That's a good thing. I'll add that after. But I think we could start tracking prices. Then you can decide for yourself. Because I know a lot of these are 4-packs. It's like, is $15 worth it? I know a lot of these craft beers are going to be kind of expensive, over $10 for 4-packs, but it's like you can decide for yourself. Would you buy this at this price point? For $15, it might be a pass for me, but it's definitely a beer I would try if I was like at the brewery and it was hot and I'm like, I just want something refreshing.
Yeah, this is one of those beers that you would get if you're out somewhere and they have it. I'd definitely get
I don't think this is a 4-pack worthy, but it's definitely out worthy.
Yeah.
You're out to dinner, whatever. Because you can definitely have this with dinner, not get too full on it.
Yep.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it. All right. Let's get into some Bills talk here. I'll start with, I guess, the biggest news, which has been the Bills schedule release. And I think that was a couple of weeks ago they released the Bills schedule.
Yeah, I think it was like a week after or 2 weeks after our last podcast.
Yeah, I pulled it up here on the screen. I'll throw it up on the screen for the viewers as well. Let me move our face out of the way so they can see us or see the schedule.
Yeah, they don't want to see us.
They don't want to see us.
Even though they've already seen us by now, but it's all right.
Yeah, so this just came out. Bills are opening up the season against Baltimore at home, primetime game. And before we even get into that, you could just look at the number of primetime games that the Bills have this year.
Just 5.
I mean,
technically 5. Those 4:00 games are considered prime time because they're the only
5 prime times game is still is a lot. Isn't there only like 6?
Well, the Chiefs have 7. So
the Chiefs have 7.
The Chiefs have 7. I thought the 6 was max, but maybe it's 7.
They're starting to create new time slots, though.
They are.
They remember when they did the double Monday nights. Now that's an additional
the Bills
prime
have a
time
double Monday night game.
Exactly, and that used to never be a thing. And then all of a sudden
they have a Black Friday game now. I'm pretty sure there's a Friday after opening day in Brazil again this year.
Okay.
So the Thursday that opens the season, which the Eagles will host the Cowboys for that, and then you've got I'm pretty sure there's a Friday night game as well. So they're just creating. They're taking over. They don't care about anybody anymore because it used to be like. They never did Saturday games before the end of the college football season because they don't want to step on toes. The NFL is just running everything now. They don't care. They control everything. So the NFL never sleeps.
We're leading off here with a Sunday night game, 8:20 p.m. Baltimore home game. Happy about that. And we'll get into some. I guess we can do some season predictions here too with the schedule, but
I'm doing the same as last year.
I know you are. I'm happy. I'm happy though it's a home game because this game scares me because it's a revenge game and it's short memory, man. Like Baltimore, it's still fresh in their mind that we beat them to advance to the Chiefs, and they were a catch away, they were a drop away from Mark Andrews. So I know it's still fresh in their mind. They want to whoop our ass. I'm happy it's at home, so we have the little bit of an edge. Home opener, at Highmark. That'll help, man. But this is going to be probably one of the toughest games of the year. Looking at the schedule, I'd say it's the toughest, if not the second toughest. Yeah,
we open up tough against Baltimore, and then realistically, you run down the list up until we go to Kansas City week 9. Well, Kansas City comes to Buffalo, but that realistically is probably the hardest game, quote unquote. Yeah. I know divisional games are always tough; they're always close, but it's just one of those things. The Bills have dominated the AFC East at this point. At this point, I'm still predicting the Bills to win just about every AFC East game.
Well, they should. The Baltimore game, I think it'll be a higher scoring game. I'm hoping it's a higher scoring game. Now, this is not something else to compare it to. Like, was it a few years ago when we had to play the Rams on opening day, and they were the defending Super Bowl champs.
And we absolutely destroyed them.
And we smoked them.
Yeah.
We absolutely smoked them. And honestly, like, you don't want to go into the game 1 and be like, I don't know if the Bills have a chance here. It's a defending Super Bowl chance. But I was a little nervous on that game. Thought the Rams would put up more of a fight, and it was close for about a quarter, and that was it.
Yeah.
So, that could happen in this game. it depends on what Lamar Jackson shows up to. Like, he last year played terrific. The year before, not so great. The year before, terrific. It's like an every other year thing. I think he aired it out a lot more last year too. Now look at we could talk about it a little bit later, but they just paid Derrick Henry an extension too. So Derrick Henry, fresh legs to start the season. The Bills' run D was suspect last year. Now they went into the draft. They try to address a lot of these things. We grabbed a couple pass rushers here. Maybe this will help contain Lamar, and we can focus more on Derrick Henry. But this will be a real test, I think, week one, and kind of gauge the rest of the season. The Bills come out flat and lay an egg. The Jets game might be harder, and that's week two.
That's
the
true.
Bills come out, win or lose, play them good. I think we'll be fine the rest of the season. Even if we get a loss week one, yeah, it sucks. You don't want to lose opening week. But depending on how they come out and set the tone, will determine, I think, the next few games there, which are going to be divisional opponents.
Yeah, I think you said it right. If the Bills come out flat against Baltimore, that Jets game is going to be tougher because they're going to be harder on themselves. And like, we have to win this game. We have to score some points. And again, the Jets got better this year.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the division minus Miami got better this year. I think the quarterback situation in the Jets is, even though they had Aaron Rodgers, who was 41, 42 last year.
Right.
I think
he was serviceable.
Justin Fields is one of those quarterbacks that you have to keep an eye on because he can run. The Bills really haven't faced a quarterback in their own division that can run. Tua doesn't run. Aaron Rodgers obviously didn't run. Mm-hmm. Drake May wasn't really known for his running last year. So it's one of those things where it's like the Jets game could also be one of those ones where it's like they see a whole different Jets team just because of their quarterback.
I will add, though, this is good because they might have the playbook on how to contain a mobile quarterback after week one. If you can contain Lamar and keep him into check, and that works, whatever you do in games playing against him, it should work against Justin Fields, which is, they can call him Lamar Light, basically, right? So, like, if your game plan works against Baltimore and containing Lamar Jackson, it should damn well work against, now I get it's a totally different team, but it should work theoretically against a lesser quarterback, but that's also a mobile quarterback as well. So
True.
I think they can take what they either win or lose from the Baltimore game and translate that into the Jets game.
It's nice that we get them early too.
Yeah.
I feel like the last couple of years, we kind of faced like division opponents kind of more towards the back end. I think we faced the Patriots last year 2 out of 3 weeks between week 15 and week 17.
Were the back.
Or no,
yeah.
it was 16 and 18 because
16 and 18.
Yeah, we lost
18.
week 18, but that didn't matter at that point.
Yeah. The Dolphins are week 3, and that'll be a Thursday night game, 8:15 p.m. And I didn't say before, the Jets game was on the road, and then we're going to have 3 home games in a row here, and the first of those are Miami at home. I like it again. I like this home stretch we're going to be on here. Miami, like you said, and I'd have to agree, is probably the team that didn't improve as much in the offseason as the rest of the division. There was even talks about Tyreek possibly being cut or traded, probably not cut, but traded post June 1st deadline. He had, I think, wrist surgery in the offseason. I saw some pictures of him on during OTAs, and it looks like the training is going well, like he's recovering quick from that. But I didn't know either. He had a wrist injury or whatnot, and he had that taken care of in the offseason. So it's going to be the same team as last year. Did they improve? Not really, but they still had a good team on paper, and it was all quarterback dependent. Can Tua stay healthy? We're obviously playing them early enough, which we did last year as well. We play them early, we played them later in the season, and we played one with Tua and one without Tua. It could be the same thing this year.
That's true. And I'm glad we're not playing in Miami that early because we know how the heat affects just any team. It's not even just the Bills. Just because the way they design their stadium, the away team is in that sun. And if you go there early, it's 100+ degrees on that sideline. And all the fans and Gatorade isn't really going to help. You really got to be prepared for that heat.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And then going into week 4 here, Sunday, second 1 o'clock game, first 1 o'clock home game will be against the Saints, New Orleans. I mean, good freebie win, hopefully, off of this.
Hopefully.
You start off real tough with Baltimore. The rest of the schedule looks pretty easy. The next, I'd say 5 games, 6 games even, possibly. So you ease into the Saints. Now, we don't know what to really expect from the Saints. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. They have a new head coach there. The team, it really doesn't have any superstars outside of Kamara on the offense. So it's a team where I think that you can't take lightly because they'll beat you, but also it would be probably somebody I'm not too worried about, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at this point, like Kamara's probably the focal point.
It should be
on offense.
The most winnable game out of what we've talked about so far.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that because, right after New Orleans, we were home against New England on another Sunday night game, another primetime game. But New England did a lot this offseason that really boosted their offensive line to help Drake May. They've got, Stephon Diggs. It'll be Stephon Diggs' homecoming this year, maybe depending on what goes on with that video that just surfaced there. I don't know if you saw that or not.
About the what was it?
He was on a yacht.
Oh,
he had
pink
a baggie of pink substance.
Crystals.
Yeah, those.
It was Himalayan salt that he was going to season his fish with.
I've heard that too. It's like the Boston fans are really trying to push that to the side, and it obviously wasn't pink Himalayan salt.
Well, we don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe
You're
he likes
true.
it. Maybe it was. Dude,
you're right.
but,
you're right.
Yeah, I saw that too. So segueing into kind of the New England Patriots here, primetime game on Sunday, October 5th. I'm all for it, man. I like getting a lot of these divisional games out of the way early too. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna face all three of the divisional opponents within the first 5 weeks of the season, which is huge. You're gonna get a beat on them early, and then we'll figure it out in the second half of the season later on. I think they improved. I think Drake May has improved. Wide receiver, they've improved if they've had Diggs. They had nobody last year. Running back situation's probably looking the same. I don't think they went out and got anybody else. I think it's still Stevenson's going to probably end up being the starter. I want to say they ended up cutting Zeke. I think Elliott's gone. I think he went back to Dallas, actually.
He went back to Dallas last year, so he wasn't on the team last year.
And then defensively, they had some young guys. That Christian Gonzalez at corner last year was a stud for them, and he's probably going to get better. So it's a team that's improved, and especially at the quarterback position, which is the most important position on the team. He's gonna be better. He brush off the rookie dust or whatever you want to call it. They're gonna be a tough matchup, and it's somebody you want to go into the first half of your divisional opponents and sweep them. You don't want to lose that and have the pressure of win one, lose one, and having to win the second one. I want to go for the sweep. It's very obtainable in our division. Yeah. The Bills shouldn't have a problem doing it. I think they could beat New England, especially at home.
It's also important to sweep the division just to take control of the division too.
Yeah.
So if things go sideways against Baltimore, Kansas City, and later on in the season we got Cincinnati, Philadelphia, it's one of those things like just win your division at this point and let everything else fall into place. So those early divisional games are very important. So I'm hoping they get things figured out pretty early for them.
I agree. Segue into back-to-back primetime games here. Monday, and this is one of those early Monday night games, 7:15 against Atlanta. I think I might go to this game.
You're going to go to Atlanta for this game?
I think I might go to this
game.
That'll be fun. Haven't decided yet, but I might go to this game. It was either this or the Carolina game. I like the Carolina game a little bit more to go to. Day game, Carolina, kind of fun to do. A little bit closer. Plane tickets cheaper. But
game price is cheaper.
The game price will definitely be cheaper.
At least if you go to Atlanta on a Monday night, the Chick-fil-A they have in the stadium will be open.
Nice. Yeah, we can get some Chick-fil-A. I'm sure that won't cost an arm and a leg.
No.
Atlanta, man. So look at coming off of last season, 2/3 of it, 3/4 of it actually was Kirk Cousins behind the helm. Michael Penix stepped in there. They made the change of quarterback. He looked really good. I think this is a team that is also improved this year, or is going to improve this year. That division too, I think Carolina kind of segueing in a couple weeks. I think they're also going to improve. So, a lot of these teams you look at that probably, Atlanta did have a decent season last year. You don't want to take these guys for granted either. Never. And these are going to be away games here. The Atlanta game, I don't know the last time we played Atlanta is, because this is probably part of the rotating divisions, right? We haven't played Atlanta in probably a hot minute. I think getting after the quarterback will be important on this. This will be Michael Penix's first, season where he's starting the season as a starter. So by week 6 here, I'm hoping we can, maybe rattle this guy. He might not be 100%, comfortable, and we can get to him early on in the season with our newly acquired pass rushers. But I like our chances in Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a dome too, so you don't have to worry about weather or anything.
Yeah, anytime you play in a dome on the road, it absolutely helps. Atlanta, like you said, Michael Penix Jr., good quarterback. I would still kind of consider him very fresh into the quarterback situation that is around the league, just because he really didn't play that much last year. But they drafted him high the year before, so they've got high hopes for him. So they know what they're doing. Yeah. And if you paid all that money for Kirk Cousins just to take a rookie and be like, all right, you're our starting quarterback, and now the Falcons still have 3 years left on that contract, which is fully guaranteed or mostly guaranteed. I would assume Atlanta is probably still coming up. I don't think they're challenging for the division this early.
Yeah. Okay, and that leads us into an early bye week this year.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the early bye week compared to a later bye week?
I like the later bye weeks a little bit better for the team, especially because you still have, after 6 games, you still have 11 more games after that bye week. And if you saw last year, the Bills had some injuries going towards the bye week. They rested some guys. They got some guys back after the bye week. I think the later bye weeks, as long as it's not week 14, week 13, I think they help the team. Week 7 is not terrible because you got teams that have a week 4 bye week. So, and that hurt. I think that hurts way more. Week 7's almost the midway point of that. I'm okay with it. I wish it was a couple weeks later, like 9 or 10, but week 7, that's serviceable. And honestly, the only person that can't get injured is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Anything after that we have so much depth now after what we did in the offseason and what we did in the draft. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I prefer the later bye weeks to kind of give you that rest right before the playoff push, but you'll take it either way. I mean, week 7, we'll get a nice fresh start here, going to that Carolina game, on the road, a team that, again, you can't take for granted. Started off the season terrible, benched Bryson Young, came back from being benched, and played pretty damn well at the end of the season there.
Yeah.
So I think this is another team here that's only going to get better this year compared to last year. Again, winnable game, and I think the Bills will take care of business against Carolina week 8.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then we go back to we come back home to Kansas City. Yeah. And honestly, we've got Kansas City's number in the regular season. So this is one of those games where it's like, even if the Bills lose, more than okay with it, because there's a very good chance we're probably going to see them in the postseason again. And if we lose in the regular season, I kind of put my chances to beat them in the regular season a little bit higher than the regular season there.
Yeah, I like playing Kansas City during the regular season. We kind of get a pulse on them. It's not a total mystery. Now, you see a team once, the second time you see them, and we will see them again in the playoffs. Obviously, they're going to change up how they played the first time against you. They're going to want to try to switch some things up, not be as predictable, but it's nice to get a pulse on what they're doing and how they're reacting. So I like this early on in the season. I guess you can call it the midway point, maybe even in the season. You play Kansas City in Buffalo, which is huge, helps us, build our case. Now look at the toughest 2 games so far are Baltimore and Kansas City, and those are both home games, helping the Bills out a lot here. Yeah. I saw somewhere the Bills have one of the, was it the easiest schedule?
The fifth easiest schedule.
And I look at this and we had a stretch here of some easy teams, but playing Kansas City at home and Baltimore at home probably contribute to that. And if those were on the road, I think our ranking would kind of go up a little bit.
So I don't know how they do that. I don't know if they just base it off of last year's records. Like, oh, this team was 3-14. You got a 80% chance to win. So that gives you a better chance. Or if they factor in, hey, what do they do in the offseason and at the draft?
It's a mixture, I'd say.
I would hope it's a mixture, because there's a lot of teams that we play this year. Like, we lost to Houston last year. Probably shouldn't have, but we go to Houston again this year. Cincinnati, Cincinnati beat us in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Very good team. Like we play Philadelphia, defending Super Bowl champions. We have a lot of teams on our schedule that they're tougher opponents. But as you said, a lot of those are home. Cincinnati's home, Philadelphia's home, Kansas City's home, Baltimore's home. Most of our opponents are realistically on the road.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that's part of that's what really factors into it as well too, is like they look at the last year's record, they look at your draft, how you did, and they look at your home versus away games and who those are against, your opponents.
Yeah, I hope they don't just base off of last year's records, because like I said, the Jets got better. The New England got better. Kansas City actually got better. Philadelphia is the defending Super Bowl champion. Whether they got better or worse, they're still defending champions. Then you got Pittsburgh. We don't know what they're doing with quarterback yet. Right now, it's just Kenny Pickett, right?
Yep.
No,
wrong. Mason Rudolph.
Yep. Kenny Pickett, Super Bowl champion, is on the Browns.
Yeah.
So, and then we actually play the Browns. We don't even know who the quarterback will be week 16. It could be, Shedeur Sanders. It could still be Joe Flacco. Could be Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
The other guy they drafted before Shedeur Sanders, forgot his name. Will Howard, maybe?
No, Howard's is Steelers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew it was one of those teams.
Yeah.
Got Will Howard.
I also want to take this time, if any of our viewers are watching this on YouTube, which that's the only place it's being streamed, so you have to be watching it on YouTube. You guys can comment in the live chat. If you guys have any questions, we'll try to answer it on the fly as well. I know this part we're kind of just going through the schedule here, but if you have any comments or want to say anything during the podcast, you can. After we do the schedule release, I have some more kind of news about the Bills, and it's probably be a little bit more interactive with some of that stuff, but feel free to comment in the YouTube chat as well.
Yeah, I've got the chat up. It might be a little delayed, but
it's all right. It's all right. So Kansas City, we're back to the division again. Miami on the road. Look at November 9th. They planned this out accordingly here for us, I think. They really did. We play Miami super early, but it's home, so it won't be too hot. Yeah. We go to Miami in October. I mean, it'll be warm, but it ain't going to be like that. November, fine. It'll be, maybe low 80s, high 70s. Probably be low 80s in November.
Yeah.
It really doesn't get in the 70s, dude, until it's like nighttime. But like low 80s, and that's tolerable. You won't have to deal with baking out in the sun in primetime summer. But I think, again, winnable game, depending on how Miami season is. Now, depending if Tua is still the quarterback as well. And honestly, I could see the Dolphins sneaking one on us. If he's still the quarterback, they have Tua, and they drop the first one. I think they're not going to drop that second one. That could be one of my predictions where we might end up losing a game there. I didn't really go into some prior games, but I can definitely just see it on the cusp here. Miami being a team that we lose to. It's going to be a divisional opponent.
It's tough.
We might not sweep the division, and I feel like Miami has a chance to do that just with their roster.
It's tough to sweep a division. It really is. And last year, I predicted the Bills to go 17-0. They didn't, but they did sweep the division. So, I'm sorry. They went 5-1. They lost that last game last year against the Patriots. That didn't really count because Josh only played one snap to get his consecutive game streak going.
The Tampa Bay game, back at home again. So we do a little every other game here. I like it, man. Get to see Baker Mayfield at home. A 1:00 game. This will probably be a pretty crazy one to go to. This would be a good home game to go to.
Yeah, I think so too.
Again,
not cold.
We're playing a division that we don't normally play. Yeah. We're going to see a quarterback who over the years has gotten better. They have still a good team around them. You got Mike Evans. If Godwin's healthy still by that time, as I know he got hurt last year. They have an all-around good team, a good defense. I think that'll actually be a really tough game, and that's another game that could be people might sleep on that the Bills could drop. Now, realistically, we should win that game, especially at home. I don't think we should lose any home games, but that could be one that shocks us. We come out, we beat Baltimore at home, we beat Kansas City at home, we drop a Tampa game. Yeah. That's the kind of the letdown type of game I can see us losing.
Yeah, and it's also the second of only 2 1 p.m. games in Buffalo, which is absolutely insane. And we'll see what the Jets game is week 18. That's still to be determined. But the fact that we only have 2 1 p.m. games, I kind of feel bad for season ticket holders just because they've got to go through that stretch of 4:00 games, primetime games. People that got to work the next day.
Thursday games during the work week. Yeah, so
it's tough. But it also just shows how good the Bills are, how they've been the last few years, how consistent they've been. It's like, all right, well, the Bills, they're good now. They're not going to get a lot of 1 o'clock games. I bet you Carolina's games, all of their home games last year were probably 1 p.m. games.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, it's one of those like catch-22s where it's like, yeah, your team's good, but now you're not getting a lot of 1 o'clock games at home.
Yeah. I get it, man, and that's the last one of the 1 o'clocks at home. So look at after November 16th, no more 1 o'clock home games. That's crazy.
I'm glad I don't have season tickets.
That's crazy, man.
Because I'd probably be selling.
Yeah, I mean, you don't look. It's fun to go to a couple primetime games, you know, at Highmark. But dude, when like these 4 o'clock games, these primetime games, when they make up most of your home games, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah,
like that's like a couple of them, sure, but most of them, no. Everybody wants to day drink and go to 1 o'clock games. Mm-hmm. You could tailgate early. You get out of there at a reasonable time. You still can come home, watch the late games, not be bummed out. Shout out to Vinny. But I mean, it's like, you know, it is what it is. We got another Thursday night game here on the road. Houston, rematch of last year. No Diggs this time. We'll play him twice this year, though. Don't worry. But Houston last year on a game that we should have won, we dropped to them. And that was on the road at Houston, too, wasn't it?
It was.
So we got to go to Houston twice? I don't think that makes sense to me. I feel like if we're going to play them 2 years in a row and they're not a divisional opponent, why is that not alternating?
I think it's because they won the division last year.
I don't know how they figure these things out.
It has something to do with how it has
if
something
you
to do
won
with,
or lost the previous year.
I don't know if it has win or loss. I think it's just how if you win your division and based off seeding. Okay. Because Kansas City, I feel like, comes to Buffalo almost every year.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Well,
I could probably look into it and see how that works. You know, that would be, you know, good podcasting, good research.
It would be. But you know how we do. We're on the cuff here. We kind of just do things on a whim.
Notes. I have
notes.
My phone up.
You don't need notes. I got notes.
You got notes.
But I don't have those notes.
Like I said, one of us could probably look into how the scheduling actually works and why we're going to Houston.
We'll figure it out. We'll probably do it later in the podcast. We'll come back to it.
Maybe next year.
But this is part of a stretch here, this Houston game, where I think that, and I'm going to count the Miami game kind of in there on the road, but like, yeah, sure, Buffalo's got the 5th easiest schedule or whatever. Then we go on the streak of Kansas City at home, Miami on the road, Tampa at home could still be tough. Then you got Houston on the road. We segue into Pittsburgh on the road.
Yeah.
And then Cincy at home. So it's like we're getting into some tough games here. The Pittsburgh on the road would be the next one, week 13. Does that say 13? 13 there, a 4:25 game. Look at, man, I'm not comfortable on this one. Depending on the quarterback situation, which who knows? Even if it's Rodgers, I still think we have a shot. But Pittsburgh on the road is going to be tough, man. That defense is a very tough animal. The Bills have to play a lot differently. This can't just be, you know, Josh Allen throwing Hail Marys and stuff. We got to be methodical with this team. And I think it'll be a defensive battle team. This might be one of those games that'll be boring to kind of watch, low scoring, fought in the trenches. But you're going to give the edge to whoever's the better quarterback. And Josh Allen will be the better quarterback, but is this going to be going up against a veteran quarterback like Rodgers? Or are you going to go against Mason Rudolph, who we've had his number forever, or Will Howard, who's going to be a rookie? It's like, or
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins
has been rumored to go to Pittsburgh. I think right now Kirk Cousins is somebody that, like, if Pittsburgh doesn't get Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins kind of like, all right, what do you need for Kirk Cousins? Are you going to cut him after June 1st to save money? What are you going to retain if we trade for him? What do you want if we're going to trade for him? You've already made him the backup. Just because you're paying him all this money to be a backup doesn't mean we're going to trade you everything we have to get a quote-unquote backup at this point. So it's one of those things. Pittsburgh, I think by week 13, I think their quarterback situation will probably be a little bit better than what it's going to be at the start of the season.
I got you. No.
Or not even the start of the season, right now.
Right now. Okay.
I think it'll be. I honestly think it's either going to be Rodgers or Kirk Cousins.
That's a team that if we played early on, I feel more comfortable about. But I think by week 13, they'll have things figured out.
Yeah.
Or more figured out.
Mike Tomlin's he's never had a losing record.
But I feel like this is a team that you can get to early on and be like, look, we could beat up on them early. Even if they have things figured out on paper, I think as a team, not playing together, the first couple of weeks are going to be challenging, and they're going to rely on their defense a lot. So
TJ Watt, perennial defensive player of the year. It's one of those things. Well, and we don't know what's going on with him because he wants a new contract. I don't think he got
too.
one yet, but
I saw that too.
We'll see.
Cincinnati on at home, 425 game. Look at, again, part of the tough schedule here, I think, in the middle of the schedule. Joe Burrow last year balled out. A lot of people said he should have been a candidate for MVP voting. I'll disagree just because of how bad the Bengals were, although his individual numbers were good last year. You know what you're going to get with Joey B. They just paid their wide receivers. They did not pay Trey Hendrickson. But offensively, they look good again. It's like, can they click this year, stay healthy? That's going to be a very tough game. Again, I'm glad some of these really tough games are at home. It helps give you a little bit of the edge. You got Cincy on the road, Kansas City on the road, and Baltimore on the road. I wouldn't be surprised if we dropped all three of those. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a totally different. We're having a totally different conversation.
Yeah. And Trey Hendrickson has already said he's going to hold out this entire season. So the leading sack rusher of last year has already made it public that he's not going to play this season unless he gets a new contract. And I don't know when you have to give him a new contract by. I don't know when those talks have to end. But that's one of those things where it's like their defense was already Swiss cheese last year, already having the sack leader. If you don't have your sack leader, your defense is going to be 10 times worse. Cincinnati, without a good defense, that's going to be a shootout game, and I'm still taking Buffalo over that one. Even if that was Cincinnati at home, I'm still taking Buffalo if they don't have a defense. And they didn't address the defense in the draft or in the offseason. They overpaid their wide receivers because they had to, because they didn't get it done sooner. We've talked about it before. Had they done this 2 years ago, their wide receivers would be locked up. They would have been able to pay Trey Hendrickson, and now that they can't, well, their defense is going to be even worse than it was last year. And they lost a lot of games because of their defense.
Yeah,
so you're going to look at a defense that's even worse than last year.
They got in those shootouts with Baltimore last year and lost those high-scoring games.
Yeah, I think one or both of those went to overtime.
I think they both did, yeah.
And they lost in overtime. It's just one of those things where it's just like you didn't really address your needs.
You're scoring 35 points and losing. It's not good.
No, it's not at all.
It's not good. Yeah. The New England game is next on the road, 1:00 in Foxborough. We're coming down to the final stretch here. Look at late season now. We're December in Foxborough. This is also Patriot football. They can play well in the snow. They can play well in this kind of weather. I think, and late in the season, you got to maintain your team, maintain your starters, stay healthy. This will be a challenging game. I think the Bills win this game. I think the Bills can go in there and easily win this. Not easily. I'd say 10-point game. I'd say 7 to 10-point game. It should be, right? New England will be around for a little bit, and the Bills kind of blow it open the second half type of thing. I don't know. There's nothing really I can say about this, man. It just depends on Drake May. We don't know what we're going to expect this year from him. So
yeah, that's true. I do have a little bit more faith in Mike Vrabel this year as their head coach.
Forgot about that.
As compared to Gerard Mayo.
Yep.
Gerard Mayo, I think, kind of got thrown into that a little bit too early just because they pushed out Bill Belichick a year too early. It was already in the contract that Gerard Mayo was going to take over.
He was already there.
I think it was just one of those things where it's like, yep, we're getting rid of him. Here you go. We're tossing you in.
It was an easy segue so that they didn't actually have to do like an interview process and kind of just like, all right, well, we got to figure it out this year. But now they're doing it right where they went in, they actually interviewed coaches. But this makes the most sense, right? Like Vrabel is I'd say even in his short tenure as a head coach, is a proven head coach. Yeah. He did very well with the Titans. He had a winning record with the Titans, if I remember correctly, and they still let him go over, 3 years. So I don't know, man. I think they're in a better situation. It'll be a tough game. This is one I'm actually looking forward to this now that Shedeur Sanders is on the team, but the Cleveland Browns. We don't know who's going to start. We definitely don't know who's going to be the starter by week 16. 16. Yeah,
16.
4 days before Christmas. But this could be a fun one, man. Like if Shedeur ends up being like a good quarterback, I think people will actually look forward to watching this game. Also, Elijah Moore, former Cleveland Brown, will also be playing on our side too.
That's
a little
true.
Revenge game for him. But I would love to slap the Browns around, and I would love for them to be competitive too. And I think if Shedeur ends up being a halfway decent quarterback, they got some skill position players. I think they can be competitive. They can stick around, and it's a home game for them, so it'll definitely be closer than it should be. I think so. I think Cleveland will probably play a little tougher than it should be. Late in the season, both teams are going to be tired out. You got to give a little edge to these home teams kind of late in the season here. You're tired. Your bye week was week 7. Hopefully this could be a stretch where who knows if we're resting players a little bit more to prepare for playoffs, depending on what our record looks like by now. So, again, one of these games where I wouldn't sleep on Cleveland. Do I think they beat us? No. I give them like a 5% chance, but I wouldn't count it out. Like, I'm not guaranteeing them to lose the game.
It's the opposite of what I said about Cincinnati. Cleveland's defense is very good. Myles Garrett has won them games, just like Pittsburgh with T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt has won Pittsburgh games. Probably the only reason that Mike Tomlin still has a winning record overall over 17 years, never had a losing season, is because of their defense. Cincinnati's defense is very good. I really think that it's probably going to be a little bit of a closer of a game. I don't think Buffalo would have to lose this game before I think Cleveland could win this game, if that makes sense.
I agree. We'll see what happens. I mean, these late season games, a lot of it depends on health too, and both teams are going to be banged up.
Yeah.
And going into week 17 here, what's that? December 28th, the last game that we actually have a date for. We're home against the Eagles again. A good team we're getting at home.
Who beat us at home last time? We played them a couple years ago.
And you know what, though? I'm glad, though, we're back at home again because I don't want to be in Philly for this game. Defending Super Bowl champs here, second to last week of the season. Look, I mean, I still think Hurts is an overrated quarterback. I will continue to beat that horse. I don't look at. He had a good year last year. I think they had a better. Well, the run game was incredible. You have Saquon, offensive player of the year. You have really good wide receivers. I think Jalen Hurts does enough to win games. He, on paper, looks like he's got all the attributes. If he's a Madden character, you go, yeah, he's like a 90 this, 90 that. But I still, at the end of the day, don't think he's got like that quarterback IQ where it's like it puts him on this echelon. I think he's just got attributes that build him as a good quarterback, but I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't put him in the Josh. I don't put him in the Patrick Mahomes kind of or Burrow kind of tier there. So I'm going to call him overrated because I know everybody loves this guy, especially look, coming off a Super Bowl. How can you call the guy overrated? Look what he did. Sure, the defense was amazing last year. The run game was the best last year. Them and probably Baltimore were 1 and 2. And you have stud wide receivers, 2 of them. So, I don't know, man. This will be a tough game. Again, health-wise, well, what are we looking at the end of the season here? You're going to need pretty much everybody healthy for this game. And you're going to want to go into playoffs beating like a really good team. Look, you come off that Cincy game at home, then you have away New England, not great team. Away Cleveland, not great team. Philly, home, good team, and then the Jets, last game of the season, not good team. You want to win the good team battle, right? Going into the playoffs, have that kind of momentum. These last 2 games are going to be very important, and they're going to both be home games.
Yeah, I agree with that a little bit. Philadelphia, they won their Super Bowl and most of the games last year. They had one of the best offensive lines, maybe second to Buffalo. Buffalo probably statistically had the best offensive line, but they had the best defensive line too. And that's kind of where you win games is in the trenches. Yeah. And Philadelphia showed that last year, especially in the Super Bowl. They dominated. And it's just one of those games where it's like, I like Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's, like you said, elite like Josh or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
I think he's a good quarterback. I just think he's overrated for what the media.
I'm kind of giving Joe Burrow one of those where it's like, yeah, you've got probably the second best wide receiver in the game. It's kind of like Sam Darnold last year. Looked like an absolute stud because he had Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase, and if you don't have T. Higgins, I don't know if Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but I could trust. I feel like I could trust him more. I don't know. I don't know why.
Here's the thing I'm looking at, though. Josh Allen has proved that he's an elite quarterback now.
Well, we're not even talking about Josh.
But I know that, but he's proved he can be an elite quarterback. Joe Burrow had the stats last year to be an MVP, but I think that attributed to having both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of Jalen Hurts kind of falls into that same category. I look at 3 quarterbacks in the top 3 as elite quarterbacks, and that's Josh, Mahomes, and Lamar. And then I think probably 2, like second tier would be Joe Burrow and probably Jalen Hurts. And then we could probably go through the list of quarterbacks after that. But I really think there's 3 elite, maybe 2 that are borderline elite. And then you've got everybody else.
And I'm going to segue here back into our Bills screen, but we'll talk real quick. The last game of the season, to be determined, New York Jets at home. I said this, these last 2 home games are going to be very important. Hopefully the Bills by that time will have the home field advantage going into the playoffs. If not, at least, you'll have it for the first, the wild card game and the game after. But you want to kind of go out on a win streak here. You don't want to go out and drop the last 2 games at home. It's a bad look. It's bad momentum here, bad juju, whatever you want to call it. I think we come out and we beat this team handily. Now, the Jets by this time, too, we don't know. We think obviously we're pretty sure the Eagles will be a playoff team. The Jets probably aren't going to make playoffs. So who's resting players? Who's you know what I mean? Like if we're locked up, sure. But I feel like the Jets by this time won't really care, but they will want to try to knock us out of playoff contention too at the same time.
I'm telling you right now, the Bills will not rest 1 player in that Jets game.
You don't think so?
It is the last game at Highmark Stadium before they go to their new stadium next year. And fun fact, the very first game at Highmark Stadium, the original Ralph Wilson
was against the Jets.
Was against the Jets. You are correct. And then now the very last game at Highmark Stadium will be against the Jets. It's kind of one of those full circle moments there. And I believe I heard that the Bills actually won that. I wasn't alive when the Bills played the Jets the first game at Highmark Stadium. Whatever, Ralph Wilson, whatever it was before that. But now the Jets will also be playing the Bills in the last game. So I don't think the Bills actually rest a player. I think that's going to be one of those. That's probably going to be one of those big ceremonial games where they send off the stadium send it off on a high. I really don't think the Bills actually rest anybody that game.
Yeah.
They'd have to be 16-0 at that point into that game.
Yeah.
And even then, if they're 16-0, no, there's only 2 other teams that went undefeated.
Well,
in the
if they're
season.
16-0, they're also going to, I can see the case for them going, all right, let's win this last game, go 17-0, undefeated in the regular season, especially because it's the last game we're going to play here. But also, I also feel like McDermott's one of those coaches who don't care about stats, and he's going to want to play it smart and be like, look it, we're not risking Josh getting hurt in a game that doesn't matter other than just being in the record books. I understand that, but he is going to think about that because it's like he don't care about going 17-0 and breaking a record in the NFL versus winning a Super Bowl. That's what it comes down to. These teams, I don't even know how that Miami Dolphins undefeated season went, but I'm pretty sure they had to play that last game. They didn't need to rest anybody. If you have to play the game in order to, what am I going to say? In order for seeding or something like that, you're going to play everybody. But if it doesn't matter and shit's locked up and it's not going to change seeding even, there's no need. It's a meaningless game. That is the definition of a meaningless game.
It's not a meaningless game because it's the last one at that stadium.
But
that stadium's been around for 50 years.
I get it.
It's not a meaningless game.
I just think that
they're gonna send out the Bills fans. No, I don't think
they're
so.
gonna overrule that.
I'm telling you right now, I think Josh overrules.
Josh could start. I could see him completing his start thing where he throws a fucking pass and that's it. He ain't gonna play that game.
Fun fact, also, Josh is now the leading Iron Man at this point, if you want to call it that.
Is he?
He has the most consecutive games starting. I think 117. He hasn't missed a game since 2018 when he had that concussion. So he is technically right now the Iron Man of starting every game, which is awesome.
All right, guys, if you've stuck with us, we got some viewers back up. We're back up to 7. We dropped a little bit. We're back up to 7. We're going to go segue here into some more Bills news outside of the schedule. feel free again, like I said before, if you want to comment in the chat as we're talking about these breaking news stories. The first thing I want to start with is the Bills OTA starting on Tuesday. Everybody was accounted for except for James Cook in this one. Even Joey Bosa was in attendance, but he was in attendance as a non-participant. Pulled a calf muscle, and more than likely won't be participating again until the spring. Again in the spring until he's ready for training camp. This is coming from McDermott saying that Bosa's injury occurred while working with the team late last Thursday, so about a week ago. Sucks because he just signed a 1-year, $12.6 million contract 1 month ago. Are we having flashbacks of Von Miller here, or is this like
this is way different?
I just feel like we get a guy with a lot of hype, and then an injury screws up the whole thing.
Von Miller didn't have injuries after injuries after injuries coming into Buffalo. We knew what we were getting with Joey Bosa. He was basically injured the last 3 seasons. We talked about it before. Mm-hmm. I don't remember when the last time he played a full season was, but it's been a few years. He's had injuries, and we both said, if he's healthy, he's going to be phenomenal for the Bills. But if he's injured, it's just like, all right, well, we kind of knew that was going to be a thing. And here we are in the OTAs, and he's already injured. It's like, really? Like, this is what we didn't want. Yeah, but it's like
it was pre-OTAs. It's like a freak. I think it was like him working out. He like pulled the calf muscle. It's like the freak injury shit like that where you're not even on the football field and you're getting hurt. That doesn't make me feel too confident about when you're actually playing now. And it's one of those things where like, I get it. It's a different situation where what I'm saying, like flashbacks of Von Miller is like, we had a guy who had promise and injuries fucked it up. Not that we expected him or didn't expect him. We signed a guy. He had a big name. He's done a lot in his career. He comes to Buffalo. The expectations as a healthy player are, this guy's going to be a difference maker. That's where I'm saying like flashbacks. They structured this guy's contract knowing that there could be a possibility of getting injured. That's why I'm fine with like how we paid him. The 1-year deal, $12 million. Sure. We're not breaking the bank. We're giving the guy what he's worth. He's at the tail end of his career. He's a difference maker, but you can't give the guy more than a year. I'm so happy it's 1 year. You can't give the guy more than a year, and you can't pay him the fucking moon because of the dude hadn't played a complete season in like 4 years. So I'm fine with that aspect. What I'm saying is like, dude, this sucks, man. It's like we're not even in OTAs. Pre-OTAs, you're hurt. Now you're going to sit out the training camp. I hope this isn't a fucking Christian McCaffrey ordeal where, I'll be ready to go by week 1. And the dude doesn't even play basically the whole season.
Yeah, until week 10.
How serious is this injury? Hopefully the Bills are honest about the injury. Hey, look, man, we don't think he's going to play till week 4. Okay, I'd rather hear that than he'll be ready by training camp. So I think, again, still fresh, only been a week. Yeah. Once we get some more news coming out about it, we'll be able to make a little bit more of a decision on what's going to happen going forward. And then like I said, like everybody there except James Cook, we know he's holding out due to the contract negotiations, wants about $50 million a year. I know we both think that's too high. That's Saquon, that's Derek, that's McCaffrey, healthy McCaffrey. That's that echelon of players. I'm sorry, man. James Cook isn't even close to those guys. Yeah. He had a good season.
He had one good season out of 3.
I agree. It was a really good season. But you're in a contract year and you balled out. You did what you had to do. You're going to get paid. You're not going to get paid like them, though.
Yeah.
Dude, that's called being consistent. These guys come in here, the NFL, you come in, you sign a rookie contract. It's not worth shit. You prove yourself in that final couple years there, you get paid. You prove yourself again. You have to keep proving yourself as an NFL player because as much as like these could be fan favorite guys, you don't want to pay somebody and then they just kind of give up because they made the bag. The bag. Now I don't think he would do that type of thing, but it's just the principle of like, let's not just pay a guy based off of 1 year. It's too early in his career. We don't know what could happen 2 years from now, 3 years from now, next year. You know what I mean? That's my point.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just one of those things with James Cook. It's just like, it's like he didn't want the spotlight on him. He said this wasn't going to be a thing for him. It wasn't going to be, I don't want this to be a distraction. And here we are. And correct me if I'm wrong, aren't OTAs voluntary? Like, he doesn't have to be here.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure they're voluntary. I think once you get to training camp, then it's mandatory. So, and Bean has said, like, hey, like, we've been in contact with him.
Sure.
He's still working out. He's still getting his reps in. He's still doing what he's got to do. So at least they're in contact with him. It's a little bit different, like what we talked about with Trey Hendrickson, who's like, hey, no, you didn't pay me. I'm not playing again until you pay me. Whereas James Cook's like, I don't want this to be a distraction. I hope he's actually correct on that, because I would be very disappointed if he's like, yeah, this isn't going to be a distraction. And he's like, yeah, middle finger to you. Like, hey, I'm not playing until I get fucking paid. So I still have hopes that he's not going to, he's not going to actually hold out.
So, are you ready for the hot take?
Yep. Give it to me. I love hot takes.
I like this one, and honestly, I mean, it's definitely a hot take, but think about it. Bills with Josh Allen and the way that the offenses ran, I think it's a plug and play almost with any running back in the league.
We talked about this.
Okay. I think if we started Ty Johnson from week 1, the whole season as running back 1, 10-plus touchdowns.
Yeah.
So why are you paying? I know, but that's why I went to even the next tier down. I'm going to RB3. We start RB3, who is Ty Johnson, from week 1 to week 18. He has 10-plus touchdowns. And he's a receiving back, so I'm not even accounting for his receiving touchdowns, but if you want to mix those in there, it might be even above that. I think that this offense, the way it's set up with the quarterback that we have, it's plug and play. So it goes back to my point where, like, why pay a guy $15 million a year who is I think he's a really good to great running back.
Yeah.
It's early enough in his career. It's hard to make that, we're going to give him the bag type of thing. But you're telling me that when Ty Johnson is in the game, he don't look great. When Ray Davis is in the game, he don't look great. If we fucking put Frank Gore Jr. in there, he might look great. It's like, you can put just about anybody back there, and they're going to look good. And they're going to get enough touches to, as long as they're not just a complete bum, which I don't think, there's not many just complete bums in the NFL. There are some. But you're going to stick our RB3 back there, who I think is he was basically RB2 on the Jets not too long ago. I think he gets 10 touchdowns. That's my hot take, is like, we can plug and play our RB3 and still be almost as productive as James Cook. So why are you going to pay him that much more money compared to a guy that you can grab from another team?
No, and I said, and I want to disagree with you just for content's sake, but I look at facts last year when James Cook didn't play. Ray Davis was basically RB1. He had phenomenal numbers. He put up over 100 yards a game.
He looked real good.
He had, I think, multiple touchdowns per game. Like, Ray Davis looks like he could be basically the next James Cook. And if James Cook wants to hold out, see you later.
See you later.
And I thought that the Bills would have addressed James Cook in the draft. No. I was very excited. I would have been very excited had the Bills drafted Cam Scatterboo. I'm glad he's not in our division. He went to the Giants, not the Jets. Cam Scatterboo.
We like Cam Scatterboo.
I love Cam
Scatterboo fans.
He's gonna be a fucking problem.
I like him a lot.
He's gonna be very good. I watched him in college. That's how good he was. I don't watch college football. I watched Cam Scatterboo. He was so good in Arizona, and I watched that the college playoff game with him in there, and he was the best offensive weapon that they had. He was the reason that Arizona almost beat Texas last year. Yeah. That's how good Cam Scatterboo is. He's a difference maker. The thing with the Bills is the difference maker on offense is Josh Allen. We don't need a $15 million running back to complement Josh Allen.
Look, it helps. I'm not going to say it doesn't help.
Oh, no.
But also, it's not we don't need a $15 million running back. I don't even think he is a $15 million running back. Now, I'll take Derrick Henry. I'll take Saquon Barkley. Like, I'll take those guys that are on the top. But look at James Cook, maybe top 8, I think. I'd have to look at some running backs last year. I know last year was inflated. He was a top 2 last year, if you want to go off touchdowns.
Probably 3 based off of.
Right.
He was probably behind Saquon and
Derek, but that was his best year ever, right? So, again, not to beat a dead horse here, but I think it's plug and play. I don't want to see him get, the boot. Yeah. But to your point, Ray Davis, hey, look good.
Yeah.
And these guys that are on rookie deals are hungry. Yeah. They're hungrier too. They want to prove. He's probably licking his chops going, good, to keep holding out. Dude, I want the fucking starting job. You might never start again. Like, that's how competitive it is.
That's true.
That's why it always intrigues me that you got players that hold out and then your backup isn't bad. It's not like you have 100% job security. That's not always the case, but this is a case where you don't 100% have job security because your backups, both of them, play good when they're in.
That's true.
So
that's a very good point.
Yep.
I hate disagreeing with you, but that's a good point.
I know. I thought about that one.
I don't hate disagreeing with you just because I disagree with you.
It's for content. We need the content.
I know. We got to disagree with each other. We got to get into an argument. It makes the podcast more fun. I get it. But
unfortunately, we're probably not going to disagree on some of this stuff too. So I got a list here of some guys that I'd like to see some improvement over.
Oh, we briefly touched on this earlier when I stopped over with the beer.
Yep. Some guys I'd like to see some improvement from last year to this year. And we're going to start with the guy we both agree on here, Dalton Kincaid. Down year compared to 2023 season. He just needs to be on the same page as Josh Allen. I don't know if he was the routes he was running. I'm not going to say the guy's he just fell off and didn't have talent. I just don't think they were on the same page, which is weird to say because they felt more on the same page the rookie season. But this is like a huge point of the offense. You're adding in a few weapons on the offenses in wide receivers. You have continuity with both of your tight ends. Obviously, Dawson Knox a little bit more, but this guy was drafted high. We snaked him from the Cowboys. We thought he was going to be Kelsey Jr., and it looked like the trajectory was going in that direction last year or 2 years ago. And then last year, it's like he laid an egg or something. And you wonder, who are you pointing the finger at? Was it him? Was it Josh when it was him? Was it just the way the plays were drawn up and it was in the offense that he was in? But it just felt like he wasn't even utilized enough. It wasn't that, because at least from my memory, and I don't have the greatest memory, but I feel like we didn't even throw to him a lot.
Yeah.
So that either comes down to you're not in the game script, which is crazy to me, or you're running the wrong routes and you're not getting open. So work on getting open. That's what I'm going to say, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Dalton Kincaid was my number one guy that I need to see improve this year, mainly because when we drafted him, he had wide receiver abilities at a tight end. And that was like, this is what we need. We don't have... After getting rid of Diggs, we didn't have this number one wide receiver, but we got this sneaky tight end who's got wide receiver ability. Yep. And I put that dropped pass from Allen last year against Kansas City on that 4th down late in the game. I put that on Dalton Kincaid. It hit him in the forearm. I understand he was falling forward. He had a bad knee. He should have had that if he's got these wide receiver abilities. Yeah. A wide receiver would have probably made that catch. A tight end, a little bit different story, but we knew Dalton Kincaid was supposed to have these wide receiver type hands, and it bounced off his forearm, incomplete pass, game over. Mm-hmm. So that's one of those things where it's like, this guy needs to improve. And I don't think it's miscommunication between him and Josh, because he was there, he should have caught it.
There was a few instances. I don't know, what were his drops last year?
I didn't really look into that, but... it's just one of those things where I don't know. I really thought Dalton Kincaid, like you said, was supposed to be Kelsey Jr., George Kittle Jr. You didn't even go TJ Hawkinson, like some of these big tight ends that are coming up in this league that are really good. And Dalton Kincaid should have had, he should have had better numbers last year, in my opinion.
Of course, they're not going to show me drops on this.
No, it's one of those. It's one of those weird things. You got to go one of those go to one of those websites that are paid. You got to go to one of those paid websites to get the actual drops.
Stats 2024. This is the one that usually
Football Reference.
Yeah, they usually have a lot of good stats. It's
Yeah.
usually in depth too. We'll do 24 season.
Yep.
Okay. Receiving. Nope.
Doesn't even have the drops.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Well, whatever. But
like I said, it's one of those websites you probably got to pay
you
for,
probably
and
gotta
we're
pay
not
for.
doing that as an unsponsored.
As an
podcast.
unsponsored,
As of now.
talk. As of now, unsponsored podcast. The beers are hidden. I also had some whiskey before the
Yes,
podcast
you did.
too. So
I had a couple beers before I
that's
came
probably
over
hitting a
too.
little bit
So
as well.
we're getting to that point where it's like we're just going to ramble.
We are. Number 2, and I think we both agree on this guy as well, Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
Injuries held him out about 4 games last year. But even in the games he played, he was held to only 1 catch or less in half of the games that he played.
Yeah.
So I think he'll continue to build chemistry with Josh, get better. I think that the addition of Josh Palmer will actually help out a little bit
think
too.
so, too.
Having a viable number 2 on the other end. Look at Matt Collins did great last year. But I think that the upside is better with Joshua Palmer versus Matt Collins. Now, Matt Collins, good pass blocker, run blocker on the offense, and he was a good special teams guy if need be. Palmer, I think, is the better talented, skilled wide receiver, and I think that'll open up some more plays for Keon Coleman to get open as well. So I think Keon will come back. I think it'll be a better year, barring any injury.
I've seen some images compared to last year, compared to this year. He looks like he's coming in a little bit leaner, a little bit more muscle. You know, I think he's been working out in the offseason. I think he's coming into this season a bit more prepared. And listen, college compared to NFL is a huge difference. It's hard to come in and be a difference maker right off the bat. It's just one of those things where Keon Coleman's going to have to learn more as he goes. And the Bills have a good rapport of drafting their or developing their players.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull a Frankie the Fish real quick.
You're good. I'm going to get into some lesser-known guys here. Well, maybe not lesser-known, but lesser important, I guess, on the improvement. Lesser guys that you might not think need to improve, but they probably should improve this year. I'm going to start with Cole Bishop here. Although I think Taylor Rapp will most likely be the starter week 1, Cole had his opportunity last year when Rapp was sidelined with some injuries. And I think that, you know, he had 5 starts last year. I think it was 5 starts, including a playoff game, which that playoff game was against the Kansas City Chiefs. He balled out in that game. I think he had 10 tackles. He looked really good in his first start in a playoff game. That's a guy, though, I think that will improve this year, although might not get the opportunity to start right away. You never know. Maybe he will. Maybe he outdoes Taylor Rapp in the training camp. He's a guy that'll make the team, and I think he'll be a valuable depth piece going forward. Also, I'd like to add in Tyler Bass, just kind of throw him in there. He was automatic last year from 50-plus yards, 4 for 4. Struggled with his extra points, right? He had a career low 92% on PATs last year. It's like you couldn't trust him on these short yards or, extra points, but given it 50-plus yards, he's hitting them. Game winners, he's hitting them. So I think that there's some improvement there. Welcome back. I was just saying.
Yeah, thank you. I heard Cole Bishop. I totally agree with that one, and I actually didn't have Tyler Bass on my radar for improvement.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because he's absolutely somebody that needs to improve.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers overall, like percentage-wise, he wasn't terrible. His extra points were definitely dropped off, but it just felt like he didn't have the confidence that he had overall the year before that. So I added him in there. And then this last guy is kind of a wild card because he wasn't on the team last year, but it's somebody that hasn't played well in probably 4 years. And I think this is a bounce back year for him. Trey White. I think, he was so multiple teams last year. He only started 4 games on 2 different teams. He wasn't really a difference maker. Being back in Buffalo might spark something, make him have maybe a breakout type of year. Health has always been a concern with him. But given our injury history at DB, and the fact that he's probably not going to be a starter right out the gate, he'll be healthy late in the season if he's not going to be a starter, right? So bearing any freak incident here where he's hurt early, I think that he'll be an important, again, depth piece, just like Cole Bishop, going forward. And he's only got up to go from here. He had atrocious years his last couple years in Buffalo. His last year playing on the Rams and the Ravens. And he talked about it in his interviews. He's happy to be back here. I think he was very upset that he got let go, and he understands it's a business decision. He understands that he didn't play as well as he should have, and he understands that injuries had a part of that. Welcome back, Trey White. People are going to forget about this dude because Maxwell Hairston is going to be the guy, number one.
Yep.
Christian Benford will probably be really the guy, but is number two. Taron Johnson will be your nickel, and there's your starters. And then you're going to have some guys kind of floating in there, but this is one of the guys. And Trey White is a veteran cornerback who knows the Bills playbook, who knows the locker room, and that has had consecutive poor seasons. This is a guy where I think is under the radar who should have a better year this year.
Yeah, I agree with that a little bit. The problem I have is I don't know if it's based off of his injuries, but he was on a team that needed a starting cornerback, and he couldn't even start for that team. So, yeah, I guess you could say that should be a bounce back year because you were on two different teams that needed starting cornerbacks, and you couldn't start for either one of those. So, theoretically, yeah, he needs a bounce back year to prove himself to stay in this league at this point. I don't know what his contract is this year. I don't know if it's 1 year, 2 year, whatever. I think it's just 1 year.
I think it's a 1 year as well.
It's one of those things. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. He needs a bounce back year.
Look at. Oh, sorry. We're going to segue. I found the drop passes.
There you go.
Kincaid, 23 was only 4, so he had 6 in 2024. So he definitely had more drop passes last year than the year before. But I mean, 6 is a lot though. Like it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot
because he had almost
less games played, less games started, less targets too.
Almost 20 less targets.
His percentage was 58% compared to 82% the year before. That's not good.
Huge.
That's why it looks as bad as it was. So yeah, sorry, I just popped up.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, we got through our most improved this year. I don't really have anybody for most improved. I think I would like to see in the playoffs Greg Rousseau a little bit more because he wasn't even like mentioned in that Kansas City game. It was more Jordan Phillips, who had better stats than him and who came back to the Bills three quarters of the way through the year. There is one person that I think if he does come back to Buffalo, I think I would like to see him have a bounce back year, would be Jordan Poyer, who wants to retire a Buffalo Bill. I know, I'm sure you probably saw that. I just
don't think we're going to have the opportunity for him, though.
I don't think so either. But if by some chance he said his Hollywood ending would be to retire a Buffalo Bill, which I think is great because Micah Hyde did the same thing. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde were the two like cornerstones of the defense for years. And they were 1A, 1B. They were like
I think that
brothers on the field at that point. They knew it. They finished each other's tackles to the sentences. Like they were twins on the field at that point. Yeah. And it would be cool to get Jordan Poyer back, even like a Trey White type of situation where he's a backup. He's coming in, he's mentoring the team, and then he can get a couple plays in here and there, and then retire a Buffalo Bill. Yeah. I would love to see that because they were a big part of this team since we ended the drought.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where it's like I would like to see, Jordan Poyer back as a Buffalo Bill just because he wants to be here. He wants to retire a Bill. And, you got to love guys that want to stay in Buffalo because for however many years, 17 years, nobody wanted to come to Buffalo. And the fact that he came to Buffalo, balled out, helped this team out, I would like to see the Bills kind of do right, if that's the right terminology here, do right by him. Hey, you helped us out for years. Come back, play for us this year.
My thing is, I don't think he'll play. I think if he would do, it'll just come back. It'll be one of those situations. He comes back, he signs like a one-day contract, retires his bill. And I'm fine with that too. The only situation I see him actually coming back and playing, and one, he's got to be in football shape, which, I feel like he'll stay in it. It would be for a playoff push, and we're really hurting at DB. But a guy that I didn't mention, but not because he's not going to improve. I don't know what he did last year. Is a newcomer is Derek Forrest, and he's going to be the guy that's competing with DeMar Hamlin at the other safety position. And there's a lot of talks about this guy looking like he might be the real deal. So Derek Forrest, DeMar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, you have your 4 safeties, and there's a couple other guys that I don't even know their names that are on there. So you're looking at this going, we got a pretty good depth chart right now already at free safety and strong safety, where I look at it more as like it would be a cool story. It'd have to work out perfectly for him to come back and play, but I could see him coming back and just signing the day, 1-day contract and retiring. But last thing I want to talk about, Bills related here before we move on to NFL news, was this came up, and it kind of has to do with the NFL as well, but every year NFL teams are experiencing a high kind of like turnover rate year over year. League averages roughly 60% turnover or 40% retainment. So we're still going through the offseason here. The Bills are at the top in terms of returning players with 82% returning, which is more than double the league average. Last year, which was totally different, we were 60%, 59.3%. So why do we think that the turnover rate was so low compared to last year, or from last year to this year? I mean, I think we just have the pieces this year. And also, there's some other things that kind of mix in there. Like, there's contracts that end abruptly, and, you can't account for those. And aging players, which we had some of those too. We had to let go. But it's mainly like building the right pieces. And I think last year to this year is more balanced of a team. And I think the Bills have kind of got the pieces that they were looking for. And we made a heavy playoff push again. And I think retainment actually says something about the Bills. Like, we thought we should have won last year. We're going to run it back with 82% of the team. Yeah,
that's what I was going to go with. Was I think we have 80% of our retainment because it's got. And I'm sure a lot of it is contracts and how everything just lined up. I think it was not dumb luck, but just how we based off our signings the previous couple of years, and also the fact that players want to play in Buffalo now. Like, I just talked about this. Like, players want to come to Buffalo. It's the complete opposite with the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
No fucking buddy wants to come to the Buffalo Sabres. We could get into that too if you really want to in a little bit with when we get into the hockey stuff, because I've got a lot to say about the Sabres and just the dumb fucking. Anyways, I digress. I think it's a lot of it is players want to come to Buffalo. Our contracts lined up that we retained, probably 70% of them, and then we got players that came in, and it was just it's just people want to come to Buffalo. People want to stay here. Yeah. They're going to resign. They're going to take a pay cut. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They want to be here. They know we're literally right there. We're on the verge of making it to the Super Bowl. We got to get over that hump, and that hump is fucking Kansas City. And people want to, and the players want to beat Kansas City.
No, I agree with that. We're in a place now where you want to stay, and you don't want to be the guy going. You see what the Bills have done year after year, and you're doing whatever you can. If it's take a pay cut, however you want to structure your contract, you want to be on the team as long as you can be on the team. So it's more of like the Bills are forcing you out. You're not forcing yourself out. Or you look at the way the contract worked out. It just happened to be that year we had a lot of people that we couldn't resign, which was true. And we have to move on and acquire some new players. But I think, so last year to this year, retaining, 80% of our team is huge. 82% of the team, 84% of the team, is huge, man. That's a big win there. All right, some NFL news here, some generic NFL news. We'll kind of breeze through this a little bit. This will probably be our longest podcast ever, now that I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, because we went through...
I didn't think we were going through that schedule.
That
it was like an hour of the
40
schedule.
minutes.
I apologize if that was a little bit boring. Good thing is, if you don't watch this live, you can just kind of fast forward after the podcast is uploaded. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube, a day later, the backgrounds change from
That's true.
The schedule.
That's true.
Because I don't have timestamps. You know why? Because this is not a legit podcast. We're just doing this for fun, folks. I don't have time to put timestamps into YouTube videos. That requires me to sit down and spend even more time editing, which I don't want to do. Anyways, I digress. NFL news here, guys. 2 weeks ago, I'll start with the oldest stuff. Derrick Henry, I hit it on a little bit. Won't spend too much time. Signed a 2-year, $30 million extension with the Ravens. That deal included $25 million guaranteed. I mean, the extension keeps him with the team to the 2027 season. The $15 million average annual salary makes him the highest paid running back over 30 years old in NFL history.
Well-deserved.
And well-deserved. And again, I don't want to beat up on the James Cook thing. That's the guy you pay. And even at his old age, that's the guy you pay. The injury history has been pretty clean. He's been dominant, and he's gotten better, it seems, with time. So I'm fine with whatever money they want to throw at the guy. And look, it's a case where they know they have some guys that they can plug in there. Justice Hill, when he played it and spelled for him, looked fine. Justice Hill fucked us up when we played him last year.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, they both fucked us up, but Justice Hill fucked us up last year. So I'm fine with them paying Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. And I think a lot of that comes into how much money he spends into his body throughout the offseason. I think it was like $250,000 a year.
Well, when you're getting paid $30 million,
I get it, but
you wipe your ass with $250,000.
But I get it. But he's dedicated to this game. Sure. He wants to play this game as long as he can. He knows his position isn't supposed to play as long as he's playing. So he's spending that money, $250,000 a year.
It is nice to see running. Just in general, it's good for the NFL.
Yeah.
Like you 100%. Think of the older running backs like Adrian Peterson, Sean Alexander, some of these guys, well, it'll be Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. These guys that are like household names that were good running backs. And you like to see him play as long as possible because it's good for the NFL.
Look at Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was a fucking phenomenon.
Gone.
Coming out of high school or college. He played like 3 or 4 years for the St. Louis Rams. And then he was just like, oh, yeah, Todd Gurley's younger than Derrick Henry.
I know. There was a crazy stat where he's younger than like a lot of these guys. He should still be in the league type of thing. And he's got like the record for like most touchdowns. Well, not record, but he's like a top 5 guy for touchdowns, and he's ahead of so many guys that have been playing for 5 years, and he's been out of the NFL for like 7.
I don't think he wants to play, but I don't think he wanted to play like Derrick Henry's playing.
But no, he got hurt. He got the injury bug really hit that.
Ish. It wasn't that bad.
I think he was one of these guys that once he got hurt, he realized that he couldn't be the same player. And then he wasn't going to be like, I'm going to come back and try. And then if it doesn't work out, I'm like a shell of myself. He ended his legacy on a good note. I mean, he ended with the Falcons. He had 1 year with the Falcons. He was terrible.
But look at Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb has had gruesome knee injuries.
But that's my point.
ACLs,
is like
MCLs.
Nick Chubb should have retired, though.
But he's not retired. He's still a free agent, and he wants to keep playing. He's taking care of his body.
That's fine, but I don't think he'll ever be Nick Chubb again. That's my point.
He was Nick Chubb when he played last year until he got hurt again.
He was okay. But that's the thing. It's like, I think that Todd Gurley knew his body is like, look, I don't want to be in this situation where it's like, do I give the team 5 to 6 games a year?
Yeah, because you still think you can play that way.
He does.
Until you get injured again. You think you're going to be
maybe his
Todd
heart
Gurley
wasn't really into it then.
I don't think Todd Gurley was into it as much as Derrick Henry
I don't either.
Is what I'm trying to say.
I think you're right. I'll agree with that. Aaron Rodgers, we touched on a little bit. Still not found a home. Did you see the Terry Bradshaw comments?
Yeah, so Terry Bradshaw is out of his fucking mind. I don't know if he was dissing the Steelers or if he was dissing.
No, he was dissing Rodgers. He was dissing Rodgers.
Or if it was both. So, because at this point, I think he was like, "You're the Steelers. Why the fuck are you letting him wait around and make a decision? You need to make a decision at quarterback and not let him make your decision as a quarterback." I think it was a little bit of a both.
It was both, but so I got the quote here, and it sounds more like he was like "fuck Aaron Rodgers" type of thing. He said, "That's a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? The guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere, chew on some bark, and whisper to the gods out there." Like it is funny as hell.
I love that. I love Terry Bradshaw.
Pretty harsh, but it might be valid statement from the ex-Steeler QB. And then Aaron, I think I couldn't find this, confirm this before the podcast, but I thought I saw a news article saying that it's either between Pittsburgh or New Orleans as his top 2 teams. So the Jets obviously are out.
I didn't hear that.
I did. So this was something that popped up, I think, yesterday or day before, and I couldn't find the article, but I think I heard it on like ESPN. Pittsburgh and New Orleans. And I said, it looks like the Steelers are the better option if you're obviously going through between those two teams. New Orleans, we talked about it. New head coach, no star offensive players except for an agent Kamara. Bad defense. I think they were bottom 3 defense last year. And I'd say that maybe the only positive is they're in a weaker division. And you play in a dome year round, so that's attractive. You're not going to be in the elements. And Aaron Rodgers, although he went to New York, he played in Green Bay his whole life. It would be nice to play in a dome. He's not afraid of the cold, and that's what the Steelers, they're going to be playing some cold weather games. You got the Steeler defense behind you. You should have had the Jets defense, and they took a shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you have the Steelers defense behind you. You have DK Metcalf. So you're like halfway there. And you got Mike Tomlin. Compared to a rookie head coach, like everything lines up to go, we're in a tough division. We got to play Baltimore twice. We got to play Cincy twice. We got to play, fuck the Browns, but we got to play them twice. Compared to we got to play the Bucks, Carolina, and Atlanta, who again have all gotten better, but they're nowhere on the level of Baltimore, Cincy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it makes sense to just go to the better team.
Right.
The Saints one came out of like left field for me because that's the first I've ever heard of it too. But that's what it sounded like was like when I saw it. We're done. We've moved on. The Jets is officially and we're not coming back. It's Steelers and the Saints popped up.
So the only thing I saw was it was the Saints or Minnesota, which would complete the Brett Favre cycle of life, football life. And he was holding out for he's realistically holding out for Minnesota to be like, hey, maybe JJ McCarthy isn't going to be ready for week 1. We should probably get a veteran in here real quick to start the season and go from there. And I thought that's what Aaron Rodgers was holding out on. That's at least what I've heard, is Aaron Rodgers is still holding out for Minnesota. And that's why he hasn't made a deal with the Steelers. But I also think there's kind of this, under the table type of deal with the Steelers. Like, hey, I'm going to sign with you. Just give me a little bit. I also know that Aaron Rodgers, he's public. He stated he's dealing with a lot of close people in his life. They're dealing with cancer. Understandable. Take your time away a little bit. He doesn't really need OTAs.
No,
he does.
He won't do
He
OTAs.
does though, because we knocked on him for that with Green Bay.
He's not going to do OTAs at this stage of his life.
He needed to because he needed to gain traction with his wide receivers. Look what he did his final year in Green Bay. They sucked the first 8 weeks because he didn't go to training camp with them. And then by the time he actually got a rapport with his wide receivers, they were fantastic.
Yeah, but that's training camp. OTAs and training camp are different.
No, I'm saying he didn't even go to training camp.
That's what I mean. Like, if he ends up going to training camp, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Like, OTAs, I don't think he needs to go to that shit. But if he's there by training camp, I think that'll be fine. If he skips out on training camp as well this year, yeah, you got to build a rapport with your wide receivers. You're on a brand new team. The wide receivers are in a brand new, DK has never been on the Steelers, so he doesn't know the playbook. He's learning.
Yeah.
So you got a new running back situation too. Like Najee's not there anymore. Probably be Jalen Warren. I don't even know who the running back who else is going to be the running back. But that entire offense is going to be flip flopped from the year prior. So it would be in everybody's best interest to be there at training camp
for sure. But there was the video surfacing when DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers were throwing to each other on the beach. They were doing some passes to each other.
Buddies.
So, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, look at Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to the Steelers. So, it is what it is. But I don't know. I do agree with Terry Bradshaw. It's just like, come on, make up your fucking mind at this point. The Steelers, don't let this dude handcuff you. You're the Steelers. You don't let shit like this control your team. Mm-hmm. And at this point, they really don't have anybody besides Mason Rudolph as their quarterback.
Well, they were saying Will Howard could possibly sneak in there.
Absolutely, because Mason Rudolph's not good.
And steal the show. And even if Aaron Rodgers went there, Will Howard still has a chance.
That's fair.
You don't know. All right, guys, we're going to segue over to the NBA playoffs
which
first.
Has been phenomenal.
The NBA playoffs and the NFL playoffs have kind of been mirroring themselves here. NHL playoffs have been mirroring each other right now. So the Thunder won their series against the T-Wolves last night, beating the Minnesota 124-94. So they won that series 4-1. I mean, I had the Thunder in my, I think, top 2 in winning the championship, so I'm still alive there. Anthony Edwards, pretty underwhelming in the series. He scored under 20 points in 3 out of 5 games. Not looking the greatest, and he's supposed to be the superstar on that team. I thought that would have been a better series than that. I still had the Thunder winning the series, but losing 4-1 was pretty embarrassing, and your superstar kind of looking like shit for 3 games.
Yeah.
Also pretty embarrassing. I just don't know. I think they got just outplayed completely. I don't know if it could be just the Thunder are just that good this year. They're just that dominant, because we'll talk about the next game, but I just think they're just demolishing these teams.
Well, the Thunder had the best defensive team left in the playoffs. I think that came down to it, but I thought Minnesota would have given the Thunder a little bit more, because the Thunder just went to 7 games with Denver. Like, I thought they would have been tired.
Yeah, but that's Denver, bro. Jokic, that team is veteran leadership, dude.
And Denver doesn't have any depth on the bench. After they won their championship,
their starters,
they got rid of their depth. They've got a top 5, maybe top 6, maybe top 7. But then after that, it's like, who you really going to trust? They were putting Jokic out there. Like, yeah, here, go play 48 minutes a fucking game at this point and just lead the team to victory.
Yeah.
Jokic lost the game after scoring a 40-point triple-double, which was unbelievable. That dude had, like, an absolute game, and you still lost.
The real MVP right there. The real MVP.
He's
the real MVP.
He's the best player in the league.
He's the best player in the league.
Best player in the league, by far. But
they gave it the shade this year. I love
SGA too, by the way.
I like him too, but it's for me, and this is a whole different conversation, but the well-roundedness of Jokic, he can do it all. It's not just about scoring points, which SGA was the best at it. He had over 32 points, I think, a game, which is, I think, the best in a lot of recent 5, 6, 7 years or whatever. But it's more than that. I get it. They had the best record, and he was the highest scoring player in the league. I can see the correlation there. But Jokic, he was like a 0.4 from averaging a triple-double.
I know.
Only Russ has done that.
Yeah.
And I think the years that Russ did that, I don't even know if their team was good those years.
No, they weren't.
So he was just about doing that. The team was good. They made the playoffs. And he still had better points than I think Russ did when he was doing his triple doubles. So I don't know, man. They showed the numbers. He was more efficient from 3, which is crazy. He was more efficient from the free throw line. He had less points, but he had more rebounds, more assists, more. He just didn't have the steals and points.
I agree.
It was crazy to me. So
it comes down to voter fatigue. It comes down to voter fatigue. Yeah. Okay, well, we already gave it to Jokic.
They don't want to keep giving it to him.
They don't want to keep giving it to him. Oh, let's give it to somebody else. Who was it? Who won it last year from Philadelphia? What the hell is his name?
Embiid?
Yeah, Joel Embiid won the MVP last year.
No, it was Jokic last year. Yeah, Embiid has I think it was
I'm
Jokic last
sure
2 years. I think this was for the 3.
Google it while I talk real quick.
Okay.
So my fun stat of the day is Oklahoma City got SGA based off of draft and trades because they sent Paul George from OKC to the Clippers, and one of the draft picks was
you're right,
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, it was Joel Embiid.
But it was okay. Yeah, it was Jokic back-to-back, then Embiid. Yeah, and he probably could have won it this year too.
Yeah, Jokic should have won over Embiid. He should have won
5 fucking years straight, dude.
Yeah, exactly. that's what I'm saying. Jokic should have won it 2 years ago, and it's absolutely insane.
So the 21 season here, 26, 10, and 8. Then it was 27, 13, and 9. Then this 24 was 26, 12, and 9.
Yeah.
Basically his best one yet. And this year it was this close. It was 26, because 11, and it was 9.4.
The rebounds and the assists went down.
His assists went up. His rebounds went down. His assists went up because it was 9.4.
Assist per game? You telling me 9 to 6 is better?
That's not him. That's Shai.
Oh, my bad. Oh, my bad. Yeah. I forgot.
That's
you're my bad.
Because he went to 11 or something here, or 10 or 11, but he was at 9.4. Right. He was only because he was close to averaging.
You'd have to pull up.
I know Jokic's
stats for 2025. I didn't realize we were looking at Jokic or Shea's stats for this year.
Regular season. I don't think this is right.
29, 9,
Oh, that's
7.
like a game he had.
Yeah,
think.
no.
This game.
I wouldn't worry about that. But yeah, anyways, I really think Oklahoma City, their defense this year is absolutely, bar none, the best in the league right now.
Okay, so this doesn't even make sense because this shows them averaging a triple-double. 29.6, 10, and 12. 12 and 10, basically.
Yeah.
So it don't make sense.
No, it doesn't. You're right. But like I said, it's voter fatigue.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we already gave it to Jokic 3 out of 4 years. We're not giving it to him again. Let's get to somebody else.
Yeah. The second matchup here, the Pacers, that's going on right now, I think. Pacers are looking to close out the Knicks tonight, up 3-1. Knicks have not looked good at all after they blew that 14-point lead. Fourth quarter, game 1, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the series.
This series should be 2-2.
It really should be 2-2. It should be closer than it is. Halliburton's looked like a superstar at times.
Unbelievable.
He's averaged 24.3 points per game in the series. This is a guy that's he was voted the most overrated player.
Yep.
But it's not just him. It's like you look at the team, they have a lot of good pieces on that team, and people don't think of Indiana anymore, but they should be. They have the pieces.
The problem
I'm going to let you talk about the Pacers as long as you can talk about the Pacers because I got to go to the bathroom now.
All right, that's fine. The problem that the Pacers have is they're not a marquee team. They're not the Lakers. They're not the Celtics. They're not even like at one point, they weren't even the Spurs. They're just a team that's just like, you're not going to see them during the regular season. Tyrese Halliburton isn't a player that you have to tune into to see because they're in Indiana. They're not one of those teams that are like, oh, I got to watch Indiana. They got superstar after superstar after superstar. No, and Tyrese Halliburton also is one of those players that didn't come into the league as a bona fide superstar like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and he's just not one of those players that's just like, we got to watch him. He's not, I'm drawing a blank on his name, the French guy's name for the Spurs. What? No, not Tim Duncan. The French guy that's on the Spurs right now. Wemby. Yeah, Victor Wembanyama. Thank you from the bathroom. He's not one of those guys that just came into the league and was going to take over as must-watch TV. He had to build up to that superstar status. And now Tyrese Halliburton, you're seeing him because he's in the playoffs. So now you're seeing Tyrese Halliburton. And it's just like, wow, this guy's really good. I'm going to watch this. But it's only because of the playoffs. And that's why he was overrated. But he's so good.
32, 20, 14, 31, 31, 11, bad game against the Cavs, 19, 22 since the playoffs.
The Cavs had a good defense too.
Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking, like, when it gets down to the finals, it's probably going to be OKC versus Indiana. Indiana's probably going to fall short in probably 6 games, maybe 7. But that's because OKC's defense is going to be very good.
Yeah. And I had here, I said, I like the Thunder and Celtics this year. Celtics got eliminated by the Knicks, and I'm happy about them, though.
You know what the Knicks are going to do?
They're going to...
Real quick.
Yeah.
They're going to win tonight at home. They're going to go to...
OKC. Or
Indiana, win that game, and then fucking... choke again at home.
Game 7.
That's exactly what the fucking Knicks are going to do.
Everybody's going Knicks in 7 right now, but
no,
look at man. I think it's
Indiana's winning tonight.
It's an uphill battle. I would be surprised.
You don't have the TV on to see it.
I know I didn't put it on.
They're not
we started the
tonight.
podcast a little late. That's why we're also going pretty late.
Yeah, almost 2 hours.
I know. It's a good one. Let's get into some NHL playoffs here. We're almost done. We're almost wrapping it up. I appreciate everybody that's been sticking around the entire time watching the podcast today. This was a long one. NHL playoffs. Hockey is, like I said, trending in a similar direction here. Panthers won the series last night 4-1 over the Carolina Hurricanes with a 5-3 win on the road. Bobrovsky looks solid in net, man. He's got a .912 save percentage and only 2.1 goals against in the playoffs right now.
That's
unfucking believable right now.
The only other goaltender that's comparable is Skinner from Edmonton.
Yeah,
who
Skinner.
who I think they play again tonight.
They're playing tonight.
They're
Yep.
playing tonight.
They follow the same
So
schedule.
he either has a shutout or like 5 goals against. There's no in between.
Yeah.
Like he's got a very good goals against average because of his shutouts. He's already tied, I think it was Martin Brodeur,
Probably.
for most shutouts in a postseason. He's one more shutout away from breaking the record for most shutouts. The hockey playoffs have been good. Basketball playoffs have been good. Realistically, this has been a very good postseason for both basketball and hockey.
It's just the way that they've been following each other. Like all the series are exactly the same in both sports. So the schedules are lining up where you have 2 games on one night, 2 games on the next, 2 games on one night, 2 games on the next, and it's the same 2 teams playing every time because the way the schedules
well, they
are.
did it on purpose. They're starting about an hour apart.
Sure.
So hockey should have started. Well, no, Dallas and Edmonton tonight. Yeah. So basketball starts earlier tonight, then hockey.
Hockey's later. Hockey's at like 8.
Yeah, and then it was reversed the last series.
Yeah.
They planned it out okay, and I've heard this before. They need like a scheduling guru to really space these out a little bit better over the next couple of years or whatever it is. But they need a scheduling guru to make sure we can actually watch these games when they're happening, because not everybody's got picture-in-picture or multiple TVs, or like last night I was bouncing back and forth between
I think
between
it's just
both
too
games.
hard during this time of the season because you're not going to be able to show certain games early enough because of East and West Coast. So like I guess the best you could do is like a 2-hour difference, but I mean, like, what are you going to start games at 6:00 East Coast? That means they're starting at 3.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
yeah, you're right. But also, like last night, I was watching the hockey game. It was 2-0. I flipped over at the start of the third quarter for the basketball game. I watched a few minutes of that. I'm like, oh, this game is over. Flip back to hockey. They scored 2 goals. It was like 6 minutes.
Yep.
The fucking Panthers scored 3 goals in a span of 4 NHL minutes. I was like, what the fuck? I wish I wouldn't have switched. But they were down 2-0. They had 6 shots at that point. And I switched back, and they're like, yep, they're tied 2-2. And the next thing I know, it's 3-2. I wish I would have fucking live bet that.
The second game, which is on tonight, is the Oilers and Stars.
Oilers are up 3-1.
Oilers are up 3-1 in the series. If they win on the road tonight, they'll play in the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 2006, and they have a chance to be the first Canadian team since 1993 to win a cup, which was the Montreal Canadiens in 93, and they beat the Kings, and Gretzky was on the team. That's how long it's been since a Canadian team has won the cup. Gretzky was playing.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it, too. That's
I
why
would like to see McDavid get his cup,
yeah.
though.
I will say
so
I'm rooting for, as much as I'm not really a Panthers fan, but we got some ex-Sabres on that team.
Not many anymore. A lot of them retired last year.
It was just a Poso. I think he was the only one to retire.
Well, there's a couple of them that aren't on the team, though.
So
Reinhardt's the only one, but he won his last year.
no, we got there's another guy. Anyways,
we're not looking that up.
So Panthers, I'll go with the American team first, but if they lose, I'm not mad about the Oilers winning. I'm not mad. First time since 93, McDavid deserves a cup. He is the greatest player right now. He is supposed to be Gretzky reincarnated, right? So you got to put this guy. You got to give this guy a cup, man, so you can add it to his resume. But I mean, look, the Sabres aren't in it, so it don't matter, right?
True. Also, real quick, Ovechkin, Washington Capitals have reached out to their season ticket holders and said this will be Ovechkin's last season, which is kind of breaking news because Ovechkin never said that, but the team said that. But his contract's up this year. So he may not say this is my last season, but the Capitals are like, hey, this is Ovechkin's last season.
Wait, his contract ended this year or it ends next year?
It ends next year. He's got 1 year left.
Yeah, it's probably his last year.
Well, if he wants to retire a Capital.
I think he will.
I think so too.
And
100%.
There's no point of doing an extension at this point because he's already got the goal record. So he doesn't need to do an extension to play for the same team. So it's either if he plays, he's going to play. So they're right. It's probably his last year with the team. If he decides to go somewhere for a year or whatever to just play and be a part of a contender, even though they were a contender this year, maybe. I just think realistically, even if he didn't come out and say it, it makes sense to be his last year.
I agree.
You go out, you look at, you didn't win the cup. I don't see him signing an extension. Look, you have a chance next year, and that's it. So if you don't win it next year, I don't think, hey, that's just not meant to be. You already got the record, dude. It doesn't matter anymore. All right, let's end things on some MLB talk here. I just got a couple things to say. I'll start with my Anaheim Angels,
which you can't really see on the.
Yeah, it's because it's so bright.
It's over here. I'm waiting for my screen to catch up.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm pointing right at it. You can't. It's the Anaheim Angels. That's an awesome neon. I think it's a little bright for the podcast, but it's a really cool neon. The Angels have actually. This is the first year they swept the Dodgers in a 3-game series in a long time, like 15 years or something like that.
So I was gonna say recently they've lost 5 straight after winning 8 straight, which has been, I think the 8 straight is the longest win streak they've had in 5 years.
Are they the Buffalo Sabres of the MLB?
Yeah, so the Buffalo Sabres. So they lost 5 straight. They won 8 straight. They lost whatever straight. They're still 5 games under 500. Trout, however, is nearing a return. They said as soon as this weekend, he was doing BP today.
Okay.
Look, man, just DH this fucking guy so he can just play a season, please. For the love of God, just DH him.
Yeah, just
at this
DH
point,
him.
You don't need him in the field anymore. Just DH him. Mets 32-22, tied for 5th best record in baseball. I know they dropped off since our last podcast. They were first in the league, and then the Yankees are right above them at 35-19 with the 3rd best record in baseball. And side note, Ohtani leading all major leaguers with 20 home runs through 56 games, which is almost 1 in every 3 game hitting a home run.
I think he had 3 home runs against the Cleveland Guardians.
If you're hitting a home run in one every 3 games, it's incredible.
Yeah,
like you're doing something right.
Yeah.
He never needs to pitch again, and this is a whole different discussion.
Yeah, it is.
However, the amount of money they paid him, he should pitch again.
Well,
but
look at Soto.
He doesn't need.
As a Mets fan,
I think that was wrong. Anyways, I think that was wrong. I thought the Ohtani one was wrong.
Yeah,
but I thought
Soto was even way worse.
If you're paying for 2 players, I'm fine. But if he never pitches again, there should have been something in the contract goes, look, if you don't ever pitch again, we're taking fucking half of it. Not half, but we're taking $100 million off your contract. The Soto one, just being a one-way player, I thought was way too high. So you could say, yeah, look at Soto. He probably looked at the Ohtani thing and they were like, yeah. But Ohtani got paid because he was a 2-way player.
Yeah.
Soto got paid because he was a 1-way player. And I think that was...
And he sucks this year.
He's not
fucking
playing well.
Sucks this year.
Is he suck or is he just not living up to the amount of money?
I saw a stat that as of now, he's averaging 18 less home runs. As projections go on, he'll have 18 less home runs, 36 less RBIs, and a sub 100 on base percentage.
Yeah.
That's horrible. He's only hitting 210.
So where are we at? Regular season, 45 hits, 8 home runs.
Horrible. Projected 23. That's 18 less than last year.
That's so bad.
Yeah. 18 less than last year.
Dude, he's only projected 23 and Ohtani's got 20 already.
Yes, I know. That's how bad he is. And that's how bad. I get it. He may need to adjust. Blah, 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 blah. You're getting paid that fucking much. Go out there and try a little harder. He's already gotten called out for not hustling down the first baseline. He should have had a double.
Oh, you guys lost to the fucking White Sox?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it.
4-game win streak and you lost to the White
Sox.
Sox?
I don't want to talk about it. 9-4, too.
They don't score 9 runs.
I know they don't.
They don't score 9 runs.
9 runs in 3 games, maybe.
Yeah, that's funny, dude.
Yeah, hysterical. Go Mets. What the hell is talking? Is that my phone?
That's your phone.
Oh,
I was like,
playing the whole time.
I know. All right, guys. We ran this one pretty long, huh?
Almost 2 hours.
An almost 2-hour podcast. Thank you for sticking with us. We have 3 concurrent viewers right now. One of them's you. One's probably my parents who left it on the TV. And
Shout
probably Jimmy Doan, maybe? I don't know.
I highly doubt it.
Okay. So... appreciate it. We did have a high of 17 views on this podcast, which is an all-time high, which I do like it. We probably stuck around on the schedule a little bit longer than needed, but we had a lot to get through with the schedule this year. well, again, these are going to be sporadic until we get back into the full swing of things.
I was going to say, this is kind of one of those, like, hey, you want to do a podcast? And I'm sure let's do it.
On the cuff. And there was some stuff that happened.
We should plan this better. We should probably post a little bit more on social media. And speaking of social media, Beers and Buffalo Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Beers and Buffalo Pod on YouTube.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Just Apple and Spotify, because I don't think you have it anywhere else.
No, just as far as the audio is concerned, yes, and then the videos on YouTube. So
appreciate it.
No, yeah, we appreciate everybody out there that is tuning in whenever we upload these. Stay tuned on the Facebook if you're not already, following us on Facebook. Stay tuned on there because I do upload when we're going to go live. I usually put the beers of the week, especially during the regular season, but I'll put the beers of the week that we reviewed on the podcast on there as well. So you can get a lot of information by just following us on the Facebook page. All right, guys. With that being said, I'm Mikey D.
I'm Jeff.
We out.
Go Bills.